Hello.
Don't you love live TV? Because you just never know what's going to happen, and you're not going to know, unfortunately, because you're not here. But welcome to BlackHat 2025 again with me. We're still here. We're still recording live from the CyberRisk TV studio in the Mandalay Bay Hotel, which is a famous hotel in Las Vegas. I'm Doug White, and this time joining me for an interview is Michael Callahan, who's the Chief Marketing Officer at Salt Security.
Yes.
Hi, Michael. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I know. It's exciting. I was really pleased to see that you were on my list because some of the stuff you're doing is very interesting to me.
Some of it, not all of it, just some of it. Thanks. That's great.
Well, there was that thing you guys did last year, but no.
Yeah, that one thing.
Yeah, it was bad.
Well, so let's talk about the stuff you think's interesting.
No, okay. So, I mean, the term Agentic AI came up to me. I mean, this was in your notes, and I like that term so much. But I know some people hate it, but I like it because it sounds so evil.
It does.
It's like Agentic AI. It's like, yes, Mr.
It sounds
Bond.
like galactic or something with Star Wars.
Yes, yeah,
it does sound like
Agentic
James
AI,
Bond.
Mr.
I like
Bond.
that.
Yes,
yeah. That's what we're doing. Our whole theme this year is going to be around James Bond. So
well,
it
sounds like that. It's actually like virtual James Bond at a like micro level.
Yes.
Because when I started reading this thing, I got actually really, really scared.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you should be scared too, because as I started, I had not thought about, I've thought a lot about supply chain, let me tell you. I've been thinking about supply chain problems since like 1986, because I was like, that guy's not a great coder. He sends me code modules for this code. I'm the systems analyst. His code sucks. I hate it. But if he slips it by me, So there was an early chip supply chain problem. Today, of course, this has become crazy.
It's crazy.
And when I started reading this stuff, I had not thought about what you guys were working on, where we now have commonality across this agentic AI stuff, which means that these agents, I get why you would want that.
Yeah, no, it's a super bit, like it's the productivity, the improvements to business, the value is crazy. It's way out there. The risk is, it's like 100x of what it was before. And the way that I've explained it, how I think about it, you have this agent, and just think you have just this one agent, and you say, how's my business doing? Right? You just ask the agent that. Simple question. Well, before, you would have to go like almost individually to different data sources. You might go to the internet. You might go to your Salesforce. You might go to your business, whatever.
Stack
business
Overflow.
Whatever. You'd go to like whatever you could even go to like, how am I perceived in the media, right? Like because that's part of how your business is doing. Right. But so there could be you too. Like you could have an agent that does this. And what happens now is, so you would have to do that individually. Now this agent talks to, what goes along with agentic AI is this MCP server, right? So it kind of sits in the middle as a broker. The key thing, at least for us and what we think for security in general, is all of this communication is done through APIs. So when you say, hey, I'd like to know, like, what do people think about me in the press, or how's my business doing? That it sends an API call to an MCP server, which then goes to all of the different data sources. So you could imagine like this just explosion of like API traffic that goes and finds something and then brings it back and then gives you an answer. The risk there is ridiculous. So people setting up like shadow MCP servers, or data may be getting pulled back that shouldn't, right? So maybe you say, like, you ask that and it pulls back some like user account or some credit card information or something, and it goes back to the agent. All of that is API traffic, and all of it are areas of risk. It's an enormous issue, and that's just one agent. Imagine if
absolutely.
Hey, I want to deploy 50 agents to help my business.
This is what got me scared, because I wasn't familiar with model context protocol. I wasn't. I was and I wasn't. I didn't know the term until I started reading your notes, and I know I had to do some reading, because I was like, okay, I'm not 100% on this. I didn't know what this thing was, and I understand the concept, but this works in all directions. Because this is a standardization, right? So the model context protocol means that my agent can talk to your agent, can talk to their agents over there, and that all flows through this MCP server.
That's right.
And that acts as a sort of central clearinghouse with a standardized language. So now,
because it's a protocol. That's the PM
so
protocol.
My agent may speak my language, but they go down to this central hub and everybody chatters, and they may dispatch other agents, often 100,000 directions.
Yeah, so it's like that. There was years ago, I don't know if everybody remembers it, but there was this, I remember this commercial was just brilliant, where it was like, I told one friend and they told one friend, and it just goes like crazy. That's exactly what's happening here. That MCP server, it really is it's an API broker, but it's going to who knows, dozens, hundreds, possibly thousands of sources, and then bringing back all that information, and it's all risky, right? It's all like maybe the intent is almost always good, unless you're a bad guy kind of starting it all. The intent's almost always good, but what comes back, it could have all kinds of sensitive information.
Well, yeah, the analogy I used for it, I told two people, and you told. I have another one. It's an old cartoon. I could not remember. I'm gonna have to get an AI to tell me which cartoon it is. But like the judge says guilty, and all the reporters come running out of the courtroom and run into the phone booth and all the boxes. And of course, half of you don't even know what a phone booth is. But the whole phone booth falls over because they've all run in there to make quick calls.
Yeah.
And then all that goes to the media, and then all the media outlets start printing stories about it. And one's saying guilty, one's saying not guilty, one's saying lies, and one's saying something completely different. And so and the other analogy I would bring up to ask you if you think this is legit is DNS poisoning, because this is like that, right?
Well, because you have that central point.
That's what I mean. It's like there's this place, and there's a ton of small traffic going there, and then it dispatches in all kinds of directions. And if that one central point was compromised, really, really bad things would happen.
Well, and that's where like what we're seeing is, so what's someone going to attack? They're going to attack where they can be the most efficient. Well, these MCP servers, they have very little security around them, and what's happening is people are spinning these up. So internally, people might spin them up, and they're kind of called shadow MCP servers. We have the same thing with shadow APIs, but they can spin up shadow MCP servers. Other people could be spinning these up, like you could spin one up that's for a very popular application, and people think it's legitimate, and so you just have your agent call that MCP server, but it's not legitimate, and now you're sharing all this information back, and it's chaos is what it is.
So while technically not the same, it's a lot like DNS poisoning.
Yeah.
I mean, because that maybe I'm sorry, I'm just using you as a way for me to make better lectures.
That's right.
But I mean, if I can give an analogy of that to students, that would be one way I would talk about it, because they would immediately understand. If I said DNS poisoning, a lot of my students would go, "Oh, I know what that means," and it would be bad, right? Because they probably may have experienced it. And if you type in, "I want to go to Babcock High School," and BabcockHighSchool.com actually redirects you to a graphic pornography site, that's middle school prank 101 kind of stuff with DNS poisoning on a very local basis.
It's very similar. And I think what's also like one of the things that it's kind of mind-blowing, at least to me, I think, is you have to have some sort of control over the data that's moving between the agent, the MCP server, the data source, whatever. You have to have some kind of control to know, am I in policy or not? Because that LLM, it's not like a goldfish, right? Goldfish have no memory, right? Or short memory. The LLM, if you were to say, hey, what is, can you find Doug's compensation, right? It goes and it brings you that back. But then what if someone else asked it? It can't forget it, right? It would be able to give it to you, right? So the issue is like all of that data that's moving all over, it's all encompassed in an API, but it's all very sensitive data, and you've got to have some kind of control over it. And right now, it reminds me of like evidence security for 20 plus years. In the early days, it's exactly like it was before, where the business is moving faster than security. And there were some issues that happened in the last 10, 15, 20 years because of that. This, I feel, is even way worse because of the speed, right? Like it's ridiculous how fast it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, so that's a good question. So if someone's a CISO, and most of us, like you said, we worked in a security field. We've all been there where the CEO or somebody calls us and says, I want this, I want it rolled out by Friday, we're getting it. This is going to be part of our new corporate image. So when the CEO calls down and says, we are rolling out Agentic AI and these MCP servers and all this whole full-featured set to vastly improve our business model, and it's going in place next month, what's the CISO what's your first move? Quit.
Yeah, right. I mean, that may be long run the better answer, but it's like, I mean, the answer should always be, I think, is yes. Now let's figure it out, right? And then be able to present the risks, right? So to say, hey, we could do this, but understand we will have we will be opening ourselves up to risk, and it could be risks of not being compliant. We may be like not compliant with whatever industry regulation we may be part of, and maybe that's acceptable risk. Or maybe there's risk with, if we do this, we are going to have, we're going to open ourselves up to attack because we can do, like in the API world, it's like a Ebola attack, right? Like we will be open to that. We'll have no protection on it. Should we do it or not? What I'd like to see is that CISOs more more educated on this, so they can present the risks, and then you can just make a decision. You can make it's a risk decision more than like a yes/no decision. It's risk based. But I think in this area, like we're talking with a lot of people now, and they're looking to us like, help us understand what to do, and like we'll show people like, here, this is what your environment looks like, and we found 4 MCP servers, and their eyes will be like, oh, thank God, thank you. Like we had no idea, and that is like tip of the iceberg stuff of what's going on. But right now I think people are at the point where they just want to know just help me a little bit. Help me figure out what I have. Just tell me what I have. And maybe if there's any sort of like policy issues before even like what's the big risk to the business. I think that happens a lot with any kind of new technology is just help me understand it first. And that's where we are. And as we talk with people, they're like, okay, that's good. That gives us at least something to go on.
Well, I started thinking of a term for what I wanted to ask you next last night, and I'm calling it the radioactive supply chain, because I was thinking about radioactive elements emit particles, right? They're just constantly spitting these particles out, and that's how you detect radioactive material. And one of my grave concerns about supply chain stuff in general is all these APIs. We build this big stack, and now each layer of this stack is an API referring to an API referring to an API, but each of these APIs can in turn refer to other APIs that are embedded in that API that are just being thrown off. Well, each of these layers and all of these sub-layers and these branches and leaves and whatever could be emitting, I'll use a radioactive term, emitting agentic AI to gather information using this model. How does somebody get a grasp of my greatest fear is this giant stack of code, and how do I pull that in and manage it?
Yeah, so we struggled with that too, because you want to be able to understand it but communicate it, and what we came up with was this concept of an API fabric. So what you just talked about, the radioactive particles being dispersed, it would, in this analogy, it would create a fabric, right? So every organization has a fabric. Some of it's more dense, some of it's less, but every organization has it, and that fabric is made up of all of these little API communications. So you want to be able to say, in my fabric, where are my APIs? Do I have any? Are they zombie? Are they shadow? People move really fast, so sometimes they just leave things out there unintentionally, right? It's not like they put it out there so that you can be breached. But where are they? And if they are zombie or shadow, let's shut them off. So you have this fabric. You're looking at where do I have APIs? But then, are there places where I'm in or out of policy? You've got to know that as well. And then ultimately, am I being attacked somewhere? So I think like in your example of the radioactivity, it's a great visual, because you could see that, like those particles being split up
pulsing
everywhere,
out of there.
and you want to know where they are. And so the thing you want to do, because like the APIs, it's what powers the agents. That's it. If you didn't have the APIs, the agents wouldn't do anything. They need that. So as you're pushing all these points out, you just want to know. You just want to know about them. You want to know where they are. You want to know, are they doing something right?
How sparkly is your fabric?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
that's right.
Because I mean, I was scared of API before I even started thinking about agentic AI in APIs.
Yeah.
And the more I read about this, the more frightened I got, because like I said, I was scared of supply chain in 1986. I'm way more scared of it today, because now it's completely beyond my control. Now I don't just have to say, John added a module. I have to say, oh wow, the AI is adding modules, the employees are adding modules. And
nobody can keep that straight. Like there's no way you can keep all that in your head. Like, oh yeah, I remember this person or this agent's supposed to talk to this one or that one. Oh, I should put a control here. There's no way that anybody can keep that
just
straight.
As an exercise for a class I was putting together, so it's total dev.
Yeah.
I just was like, I'm gonna try to write an SBOM for this.
Okay.
It was impossible. I mean, just when I started looking at, I added my template for Python, and I've got all these modules, and I added these libraries and those libraries and these pips, and I was like, okay, now I got to go to each one of those things, and there weren't that many. I mean, compared to like real productive stuff, production stuff, and even then, I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna open this one. I'm gonna go, oh wait, there's 12 libraries listed there. Yeah. And now I need to go to each one of those 12 libraries. Before I even got through the first few I had listed, I had this huge list of things, and it was terrifying.
Yeah, it's exactly what's happening with all of these AI agents. They're creating more and more and more, and as you give them the permission to do things autonomously, then you really don't know, right? Then because you didn't anticipate it, it's kind of learning or thinking, right? And it's doing something you didn't plan for it to do. you've got to be able to understand, like we keep coming back to, like, of all the different scenarios where we come back to these three like pieces of, you've got to know where they are. You have to know if they're adhering or out of policy, because you have to know where to focus. Because if you, like, use your example you just said, or the radioactive example, if you've got 5,000 points out there, you can't start at one and then like figure out like, okay, that one's okay, that one's okay, that's okay. It's like painting the Golden Gate Bridge, right? You never end.
And it may change immediately.
It totally could. So
I got through the first 5 and the first two changed.
So you've got to have some way to say like, oh, these are the ones that are really risky or not, and look at those, and then be able to see like the last piece of it is anything being attacked? Because the way that attacks happen, that will happen now, it's not like it's not like someone sends you an email and you click on an attachment anymore.
Right.
Like these type of attacks, they go through most security solutions undetected because they look legitimate, right? Like if you say, hey, give me someone's passport information because I'm checking it for a flight, it's going to look legitimate. But if you say, okay, give me someone's passport information, and you change their name because their name's like a unique, some sort of identifier, and you change it by one character, it still looks legitimate. Why not, right? You gave me this one, why can't you give me the next one online, and the next one, and the next one, and that's how the breach happens. Nobody can keep all that stuff straight.
And it's so fast, it's beyond comprehension.
Yeah, it speeds right past you.
That's okay. Now I'm scared, so I'll have something to worry about. I'll have something to worry about the rest of the time I'm here.
Some water.
I'm just going to put my retirement accounts on double zeros on the roulette wheel because it's all over anyway. Well, thank you, Michael Callahan, for joining us today. If you want to find out more about SALT security, and you should, I think, please visit securityweekly.com/saltbh. For all the rest of our BlackHat 2025 coverage by CyberRisk Alliance, please visit securityweekly.com/BlackHat. Thank you, Michael. It was great being here. The rest of you stick around because we'll be back with another interview and a wrap up and all kinds of fun things here in sunny Las Vegas, where I think it's about a balmy 102 degrees right now. So it's lovely. See ya.